Hello and welcome back to the greatest horticultural event in the world. The showground here is alive with activity and a feeling of excitement, more so than usual, because this is the first time in the show's 108-year history that it's being held here in September. And it's a little bit confusing being here in September, Joe, isn't it? Because normally Chelsea marks the start of summer.
Yeah, a bit discombobulated, but there's a whole different palette of plants. It's so exciting in so many ways as well. Lots of new Latin names to learn, Sophie. I'll be testing you later.
Well, I've got a few, there are a few familiars, the foxgloves, the digitalis, which have popped into some of these gardens. I know people are really looking forward to coming here and seeing just so many different plants that you don't normally see at Chelsea.
No, and it's just fantastic to have the show on. Last year we missed it so much, that connection with Chelsea and plants and shows. I just think, well done to everybody who's put this show on. It's a huge feat.
It's going to be great when the gates open and the public can come back here once again. Well, it has been quite a while since we were last here. So for those of you who need a reminder, here is what makes Chelsea the most prestigious flower show of them all.
It's the catwalk of the horticultural world, where the creme de la creme of garden designers come to showcase their remarkable talent. From classic country gardens to high-tech modern outdoor spaces.
They have transported us all over the world, from the lavender fields of Provence to the wilds of Canada and the eastern landscapes of China, all in pursuit of those coveted gold medals.
And there's just as much ambition from the nursery men and women who adorn the Great Pavilion with their botanical displays in glorious Technicolor.
After months and months of COVID restrictions, RHS Hampton Court Palace Garden Festival and RHS Tatton Park finally went ahead this summer. And now, after 18 months of planning and 3 weeks of intense building on site, we're ready for the most prestigious show of them all. The Chelsea Flower Show is back.
Well, let's face it, one of the few upsides to what has really been a difficult 18 months is the staggering number of people who've taken up gardening. And I know you like a fact, Sophie, it's over 3 million people.
3 million people?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not surprised, actually. The minute lockdown happened, everybody's instinct was just to get outside, wasn't it?
Yeah, my telephone's never been so busy. Where can I get seed? Where do I get compost? How do I grow things? From people who had never gardened before. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Well, all these new gardeners, let's hope there are 3 million more people watching tonight. So what is exciting is this year's Chelsea is reflecting this new appreciation of our gardens and green spaces. And we're seeing that throughout the show gardens and in the Great Pavilion this year.
So here's what's coming up tonight from this very special RHS Chelsea Flower Show, an event supported by M&G Investments.
Chelsea favourite, the designer Jonathan Snow, makes a spectacular return with his Himalayan-inspired Nepalese garden.
Carol checks out what September has to offer in the Great Pavilion.
And we'll be revealing a brand new garden category at Chelsea this year, the balcony gardens.
Now we start tonight with the first of our show gardens on Main Avenue. It's the M&G garden designed by Charlotte Harris and Hugo Bugg. And it really captures the importance of greening up our urban spaces, and boy, does some of them need it. Now, the minute you step onto this garden, you just get that sense of quality, of fantastic design. This is a pocket park, and the idea is that, it's taken over a disused piece of land, so you've got these mixed boundaries around it, but it's created a place where people can meet, can connect with nature in the city. And one of the sculptural forms, well, the main form that runs throughout the whole garden is these wonderful pipework. And that sort of harks back to the industrial past of, well, any city site, really. And it's great, the different heights, the different levels, and the tones really set the planting off nicely. And the planting is just stunning. You know, it really is. I'm going to be coming back to this garden all week, taking photos of combinations, loads of combinations that we can all use in our own gardens at home. But the overriding sort of feel of the garden, the autumnal hues and the connection with the copper and the paving and the water, it just feels so cohesive as a design. And, you know, the city spaces are so important to all of us, and this is an inspirational garden. I hope that lots of people are watching and thinking, yeah, there's a space around the corner. If I contact the council, maybe we could do something like this in our space as well. And, you know, things like these seats have been really well considered. You can see it populated with people enjoying the space, talking to each other, and doing exactly what it's been designed for. Well, we'll be meeting the designers Hugo and Charlotte later in the week. Now, Sophie is right at the other end of Main Avenue.
Thanks, Joe. Well, this is the Bodmin Jail 60 degrees east garden between continents, another collaboration between designers. But this pair had to take remote working to the extreme. One of them lives here in the UK, the other lives in Russia. And as if that wasn't challenging enough, 2021 is their Chelsea debut. I caught up with them a couple of weeks ago as they joined forces finally in person to bring their garden to life. Carly, hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Chelsea. And you are well underway. These incredible rocks. Just explain what you're doing here.
It's set in the city of Yekaterinburg in the Ural Mountains. And that is a mountain range that runs north-south at 60 degrees east. So these are coming from the Ural Mountains. We've got a really big schedule of all the rocks that are going.
All these numbers, these are all the rocks.
There's a lot of weight here. I think the biggest rock is nearly 5 tons.
Catherine, this looks amazing. These are the really dramatic rocks, aren't they? You've laid out these rocks, the pictures you have here.
This rock is
That
the
one.
big brother. Yeah, this is a small brother. It's like a Lego.
Like Lego, yes, or a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah.
And every stone has not only the name, but the number.
Yeah. And then the water will come along here, will it, where we are?
We are staying in the pond.
I'm in the pond. Right, okay, currently in the pond. This is what I love about seeing these gardens come to life. Oh, what a transformation!
Hi. Yeah.
A lot of work you've done in the last few days. This looks amazing. It's so different.
It's starting to kind of really look like a garden now. Yeah.
Just a question, do you like it?
I think it looks amazing. So last time I was here, there were just a couple of these rocks in. You've really had to work hard. How many rocks have you actually got in place now?
71 rocks. Today is actually our last day with the big crane.
So this is it. This is your last moment. Anything needs moving now. You've got to get it done today.
Absolutely.
This big rock is named Steve.
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 That's Steve.
Yeah,
I love it. Who's Steve?
Steve. Hello.
That's Steve.
Yes.
You want to go,
Yeah.
Steve? I love it. You've all got a rock. It's great.
On the bridge is
there it is.
a part of a really important message, and the whole message is generations come and generations go, but the earth remains forever. And we have this in Russian at the other end as well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. How do you say that in Russian?
Земля остается навеки.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a wonderful expression as well. But it is looking fantastic. I can't wait to see it again. Catherine, Carly, I can't believe how much your garden has changed. It's absolutely beautiful. All this colour. There are bees everywhere, aren't they?
Lots of them.
They're loving your plants.
It's one of the only times that I don't want to see bees right now.
Why?
Because the more times that they come and take the nectar from each of the little flowers, it kind of starts to wear them out quite quickly. So, but I love them. It's just so nice to see the garden. It's buzzing with hoverflies.
You can't really explain to the bees. You've got 4 days until the judges come round.
Wait, just
Could
wait.
you just come back in 5 days' time? You can have what you want. You look to me like you'll be ready. Are you both quite happy about it?
There's still a long way to go, so there's quite a lot of bare soil, and more importantly than that, you know, it can look really finished, but there's so much detail to happen yet. Lots and lots of finishing.
Lots of details. And I think the details very important.
The detail is very important, and it's what the judges look for, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you're doing a fantastic job. You're both looking sort of relaxed and smiling, even if you're not. Good luck.
Thank you.
And look at this, the finished garden. The first time I've seen the waterfall, and it's absolutely spectacular. Carly, Catherine, you must be delighted.
We are really, really proud of how this has come together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What a lot of hard work has gone into this, though. And this, the story of two continents meeting, really.
Yeah, that's right. So the Ural Mountains and Yekaterinburg's immediately to the east of that. They run north-south, and they are at the divide between east and west, the two continents, which is why you see such a blend of those two planting palettes coming together in this city garden.
I love the sculptures as well. They're absolutely lovely. These people here and the little boy sitting on the rock.
Yeah, so these are a really important layering of messaging in the garden. So it's really important that we convey that the passing of generations. So one generation comes, another passes, but the earth remains forever. So you can see that in the composition of the sculptures.
And Catherine, these rocks, you have taken so much trouble, so much care getting them in exactly the right place. I can see why now as well. When I look at that waterfall,
Do you like it?
It's amazing, the effect of the water. And for you in Russia, the water, the rocks, it's really important, isn't it?
Of course, because our city is situated near the Ural Mountains. So we have lots of places where stones and water meeting together. So the right way for every Ural family to spend their weekend to go to the lake, just to relax and feel the tranquility among the pines, water, rocks and lakes.
And with the bird song.
Yeah. I'm not sure if people will be able to hear the bird song, but the bird song, there's some wonderful, very unusual birds that I can hear right here, and people wandering past will hear. And you've actually recorded those, haven't you? They're native
We did
birds.
it just for Chelsea Flower Show.
Well, you brought the Ural Mountains.
Just to bring the atmosphere of our native.
You have certainly done that, Catherine. Yeah. You brought the Ural Mountains to Chelsea. Well done. I know how much hard work and effort you two have put into this over the last few weeks, and I really good luck, and I hope you reap the benefits.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Standing proudly in the centre of the showground is the mighty Great Pavilion. It's as big as ever, covering 3 acres of the site. But it's almost autumn, so what should we expect? Well, here to give us our first glimpse is our very own Queen of the Pavilion, Carol Klein.
The Great Pavilion is glorious with autumn bounty. There are aces, chrysanthemums, and dahlias galore.
I've been coming to Chelsea for over 30 years now, but this year everything feels extra special. It's the very first time that the show has been held in the autumn. Why don't you come with me and we'll have a look at how these exhibitors have contended with a Chelsea that's moved from May to September.
But there aren't just seasonal plants here. Some growers have pulled out all the stops and are showing plants you're more likely to see in May.
Peter, it's so lovely to see you here. But, I mean, alliums are the plants that we associate with Chelsea in May. How have you done it? I mean, have these just bloomed?
Yeah, these have bloomed in May,
What?
not now. And then we cut them and put them in the cooler.
But they look so fresh. How on earth do you do it?
Yeah, we on the field, we look for the good flowers, the best ones,
Yeah,
and those we store.
yes.
And from, let's say, if you store 100 flowers, you can only use finally 50 flowers on the end of
Right.
in this time of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
So that's for us was difficult,
yes.
but we managed.
You certainly have. Thank you for all that trouble it took. It's wonderful.
The Harkness Roses stand is covered in gorgeous blooms. So David, this is your stand. Yeah, and very beautiful it is. It's absolutely lovely.
Thank you very much. It's been a real challenge this year, it really has.
I mean, what specific challenges do you face? Because, I mean, I associate, so does everybody, we associate roses with summer and with Chelsea in May.
When we were told by the RHS in January that they were going to move the Chelsea Flower Show from May to September, we sat around the table and we all said, it can't be done.
Right.
And our first reaction was to pull out. Then we sat down and thought, OK, we need to find a way of making this happen.
Yeah.
And
what was that way?
it was a numbers game.
Right.
We would normally have 60 to 70 varieties on the show stand. We knew that at least 50% of those wouldn't flower in September. And normally we would produce 2,000 plants to actually get the 700 that we needed.
Wow.
We've produced 6,000 plants to make sure that we could actually get plants that looked absolutely perfect for this time of the year.
Are all your plants under cover?
No.
Right, so
we had some outside, some under cover, some in glass house, some shade cover, and we were constantly moving the plants around just to get them really protected.
And what about Francesca, your daughter? Hasn't she had a lot to do with designing the stand?
So we decided, so we did the virtual Chelsea in May. And so this stand made its debut in there so we could try and get it all right. So Francesca and her cousin Annie designed the stand from the ground up. So it's our first time as a family of being here. And it's been really good fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm glad you tried so hard. I'm glad everybody pitched in because you produced the most wonderful display. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's great to see the pavilion is set to deliver the familiar bursts of colour that we know it for, and lots of new exhibitors too. Also new to the Chelsea Flower Show this year is a brand new category, the balcony gardens. And the RHS have built an entire street here. There are 6 of them showcasing what can be achieved if you don't have a conventional garden space. Now, someone keen to learn more is a new member of the Flower Show team and Chelsea first-timer, urban gardener Tayshan Hayden-Smith. Tayshan, lovely to see you again.
Yeah, feels like it's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, we were at Hampton Court together, a great show, but this is your first time at Chelsea.
Yeah, like it's a whole new world here, isn't it?
But you live locally, don't you?
Yeah, I only live down the road. Yeah, it feels like this is on my doorstep.
Yeah, and you're a semi-pro footballer, so I bet you thought you'd be playing for a Chelsea Football Club before you came to the Chelsea Flower Show.
Well, if you want to be my agent and make that move happen, happy for it to go ahead.
I'm an Arsenal fan. I have to say Chelsea so many times every week. It hurts, you know. But, you know, you've been doing a lot of garden design and a lot of community projects as well, one of them notably being the Grenfell project. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously my roots in gardening are all from building the Grenfell Garden of Peace. And that's kind of how I stumbled into horticulture. And so actually to go from building the Grenfell Garden of Peace and it being all about the community and to be here now, I think it's all about looking at what we could do in between those two things.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And what are your first impressions of the show? There's a lot of city spaces here.
Yeah, I mean, none of the gardens are absolutely massive, and actually these balcony gardens are really relatable. So I think, yeah, it's really inspiring to see just what you can do with small spaces.
Yeah, no, Chelsea, I mean, there's so much going on. It's only a small site here, but there's a lot of design and some fantastic plants and everything. Is there anything that you're really looking out for, maybe from a design perspective, for a bit of inspiration?
I think just the variety in the way in which that people design different styles of gardens. I mean, it's really varied, and yeah, I'm just excited to be here, really.
Yeah, well, I can't believe it's your first time. Enjoy the week. It's going to be a long week. Pace yourself. Pace yourself. You know, if it's 90 minutes. You know,
yeah.
If it's going to go to extra time, imagine that.
Maybe penalties as well.
Maybe penalties as well. So, Tayshan, you're going to be exploring one of the balcony gardens shortly, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to it.
Yeah, they're looking good, aren't they? Well, let's see how the designers got on battling with the rain last week as Tayshan checked in on their progress. First up with designer Michael Coley.
Mike, how's it going? A bit wet, isn't it?
It is a little bit damp today, I've got to say.
So what's the inspiration behind your balcony?
We all live kind of busy lives. I live in the city, and I wanted to kind of represent a place where you could get away from it all, where you could feel like you were in your own private sanctuary in the sky, which is why it's called Sky Sanctuary Garden.
Let's talk about materials. What's going on here?
I suppose the main talking point in my garden is this recycled plastic board I've got on the planters and on the wall. It's made from recycled chopping boards, but the way that it comes together, it looks like this marble effect. It just shows that you can use things a little bit out of the ordinary outside. You don't have to be constrained with just kind of timber and brick and stuff.
What are the challenges of designing for a small space then?
I look at it in terms of kind of garden Tetris, I suppose. I wanted this to be a practical space that people could look at and kind of take away and use in their own gardens. So I've got dining area and a kind of more intimate seating area and this amazing metal pergola, just to give some height to the balcony, also make it a little bit more enclosed. There's going to be a hanging rattan seat in it so you can get in there and get cosy. And it's just about taking into account the kind of human dimensions and how you're going to move through the space.
Hi, Nicola. What are you up to?
Well, I was just checking the distances between the pots for the timber benches, just to make sure they fit in correctly.
Yeah, I love how seamless it's looking.
Well, they interlock into the pot, so hopefully when all this comes off, they appear to sort of cantilever and float.
Oh, lovely.
That's the idea.
So what is the theme behind this design?
It's inspired by early modernist architecture. So when I studied architecture, because I'm a qualified architect, I studied Carlo Scarpa and Peter Zumthor, and they're very into detailing and form and texture. So I've tried to incorporate some of that into an interlocking kind of theme.
So what hurdles have you encountered designing a small space like this?
That everything has to be just so. Because you're in such a small space, you can't lose faults anywhere. You will see everything, and when you're sat in the space, you will be looking at everything. So to try and get everything square, set out correctly, proportionally right, you have to be mindful of weight and size. Yeah.
I like the balance, it's good.
Yeah.
Hi Martha, you're looking very busy there. Rain stopped.
Thank God for that, hey?
What's going on here?
Really what it was after was to provide a sense of escape. So I've used reclaimed doors, reclaimed timber. They come from exotic places. And then I've kind of emphasised that with my use of plants as well. So I've got some exotic plants here. I've got a yucca aloefolia, and I've actually got a pomegranate tree coming as well.
Wow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
I am loving those doors.
So I was working with a client. She's an antique dealer, and we were going to put some doors in her garden as a feature. And I said, "Oh, have you any more?" And she said, "Yeah, I've got loads." And there were about 25 pairs from a palace in India that was being knocked down, and I chose this pair for here.
So all of these materials had a past life and a past story, and you're kind of bringing it all together into this balcony.
Yeah, and I think I've sort of spent ages hand-picking them so that the textures kind of all work together. So it does feel like it's got a bit of a history to it then, all of them, but hopefully they'll all work together.
Here it is, Martha's finished balcony. Did you reckon you'd get finished with all that rain?
I know, that was a bit bad, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, it's always tricky, but the team are amazing, and they just work through whatever's going on, come rain or shine, they just carry on.
So quite a few intense days of planting.
Yeah, and even when they were dealing with the doors and the wood, you know, they were just working straight through. Nothing stops them cracking on.
I can see how it's all come together now. You look really comfy sitting on that seat.
It is, actually, it's the first time I've actually sat on it. It is really comfy and it's actually quite nice.
So tell me a bit about your pergola swing seat.
So the pergola's reclaimed jarrah and the swing seat is made from the same timber, and we reworked it into this tiny little swing seat. And the plants are climbing up the plant support and hopefully framing the person sitting in the seat.
Well, it's framing you wonderfully.
Thank you very much.
So how did your vision influence your planting choices?
So because we were doing the show in autumn, it gave me the opportunity to use things like the salvia, who are in full throttle now, and dahlias, which flower at this time of year. And then also the fact that the grasses are actually flowering, so you get to see them. But what kind of happened accidentally was the colour of these little flower heads on here seemed to match the backdrop beautifully.
Well, I'm loving the contrast of the actia.
Yeah, the actia, it's gorgeous, isn't it? That leaf, oh my God,
it's
love
beautiful.
It. Love
and then
it.
also the contrast of the yucca with all this kind of soft plants, and you've got that architectural structure of the yucca behind you.
Yeah, and the colour of the bark's really lovely. And I chose Echinacea alba to pick out the white on the bark.
So there's a real element of unknown when it comes to this door. It kind of makes you intrigued as to who once walked through it.
Yeah, no, it's a lovely thing to bring in an old door because it's definitely got a past. It's got a patina, which is lovely, but it also has that thing of whose hand touched it, who stood the other side of it.
You look so at peace in your swing seat, after which I'm sure was an intense build. I could spend all day here.
Yeah, it's good.
Another brand new design category is the Houseplant Studios. 6 exhibits that really capture the houseplant revolution that's taken place during lockdown. As so many of us have greened up our indoor spaces, these cacti would certainly make an impression at home. Well, these studios will be packed with ideas to spruce up our interiors with plants of all shapes and sizes. And while Chelsea is the place to pick up great tips and advice for our own gardens at home, it's also the stage for designers to explore the big issues of the day. With the COP26 climate change conference taking place in Glasgow in early November, it's fitting that the subject of climate change is reflected at the show, as Adam Frost has been finding out.
This is a COP26 garden and it's designed by Mary Louise Aegis, and it's an RHS feature garden to tell the story of climate change, where we are now, but also where we could go in the future. Wow, it's grim. It's not exactly what you expect to see at the Chelsea Flower Show. And I know that this is not your average back garden, but it's a representation of all the worst things that are going on in our built landscape. Over there, you've got the overuse of paving, how that can knock on and cause flooding. It's meant to shock, and it does, but there's hope. This part of the garden has been designed to deal with our ever-changing weather conditions and the rise in temperature. So many of these plants are toughies. They'll sit well in the Mediterranean conditions. Is this the future? Hand on heart, I don't really know. But in reality, the bit I do understand, I take myself back to a 21-year-old in my garden. What I could plant then that would get through the year is very different to what it is now. So, I don't know. What will the future be? But in reality, what I do know, us as gardeners can all play our part. I've just left that arid part of the garden and there's next to no wildlife in there. I come in here and straight away I'm surrounded. But what I love about this section is the story starts with the soil, and that for me is what it's all about. The way that we treat our soils, can we improve them, can we make them better? That sets our gardens up. Then you look at the planting. Here, there's a layer system, there's the trees, then the shrubs, then the herbaceous perennials. But also, it's all a little bit scruffier around the edges. So it talks of backing off and letting wildlife come in. Even look at the paving down here. They've broken it up, you know, so the water can get in. It's all looking a little bit brighter. I've now arrived in the fourth part of the garden, and straight away I walk in and it's plants I recognise. But this is all about balance. Here in front of me you've got closely cut lawn, and at the back more of the imports that will now sit comfortably in our environment. So we can still have that classic British garden, just with a little bit more thought.
Thank you, Adam. Well, here is something completely different. There is a lot of water in the gardens at Chelsea this year. This is the Guangzhou China Garden. It has one of the largest volumes of water ever used in a show garden, 75 square metres. It's a third of the entire garden. I've watched this garden being built over the last few weeks, and just 2 days ago, that water was completely cloudy, Joe.
The water clarity is perfect now, but I can't see a fish anywhere, Sophie. I was told this was going to be stocked.
I'm not sure you're going to get much with that net, to be fair.
I've been on the front cover of Sea Angler Monthly as well, you know. Well, there's still plenty more to come on today's coverage of the RHS Chelsea Flower Show, an event supported by M&G Investments.
I catch up with our very own Arit Anderson as she puts the finishing touches to her first ever Chelsea garden.
Juliet Sargent will be exploring the much-loved artisan designs as she reveals the Guide Dogs for the Blind 90th anniversary garden.
And Rachel de Tame shares her impressions of the planting styles and trends here at the first ever September Chelsea Flower Show.
Time now for a familiar face here on Main Avenue, and it's the return of Jonathan Snow. He's become synonymous with creating show gardens that transport us to foreign climes. And this year, he's taking us on a trip to Nepal. But before Nick Bailey joins him on his garden, let's see how Jonathan got on one of his research trips.
My passion has always been about showing plants growing in the natural environment. I want to distill the best qualities of the Himalayas and distill that into my little 22 by 10 metre plot at Chelsea. It's really important that the garden feels authentic. I don't want it to feel like a sort of a themed garden. I want to do justice to the incredible range of plants that you see there, the landscape and also the culture of the region. The climate that I'm trying to capture, it's quite warm, it never gets cold, it's temperate basically. It rains a lot. I was looking online for plants and I was just doing some research and I was looking for one particular plant and it led me to an article, and that article was all about a nursery called Craigieburn, which is here in Scotland. Actually, we found that Scotland, particularly the west coast, has a fairly similar climate and there are a surprising number of Himalayan gardens or gardens with Himalayan plants in them. Well, the garden, I think, is created jointly by the owner, Janet, and her friend Dawa. 25 years ago, Janet was out in Himalayas plant hunting and Dawa was assigned to be her guide and to look after her. Janet fell into a river and Dawa jumped in and saved her life.
He always says that he saves me. Actually, I think he did something which was rather more heroic, which was, I think there was a moment when he knew we were both going to go into that river and he wasn't going to let me do it alone.
Okay.
We've been friends for 25 years now. When Dawa came over and started just to help me with little jobs, I realised sort of straight away that he was more than just a natural.
When you are, when you are working together, you get a laugh and you get argument and you get angry and sometimes you get very happy. We love each other.
I mean, we do sort of strike sparks off each other, I've got to say, but I think it's a funny relationship, but it works. We come together and something really good comes out of it.
Right. Dawa, I was last here 2 years ago. Can you show me around? This was all forest before?
Yes, there's a completely wild and forest and bramble and nettle and ash tree seedlings, all forest.
This is your clover, isn't it?
This is the Himalayan parachutus.
This is Parachutus communis, isn't it? I'm using this in the garden. We got it from you.
Yes, and this is the great plant for poor soil or dry places or banking cover, good for ground cover.
Dawa, I brought along this model because you're the best person to ask whether this looks authentic and whether you think this would be a good representation of the Himalayan foothills.
I really, really love it.
That's great.
This looks fantastic.
I want to create a sort of covered walkway by planting the rhododendrons quite high so that you can walk down the stone path and under them. I've got a shelter here, which it's inspired by the features that you see in the region. And then either side, the little small houses you can see are water-driven prayer wheels.
That's fantastic. Yes, our older people is over 70, 80. They always sit down where is the prayer wheel.
That's actually quite lucky because I wasn't.
Very lucky.
Yeah, that's lucky that I put them right there.
That's
because
very lucky.
I hadn't thought about the older people sitting down. Do I have enough prayer flags?
More the better.
Okay.
If you run out, I do have a prayer flag. I will give it to you. And good luck for you. Good luck for me. There's nothing wrong. We can put more prayer flags.
More prayer flags.
More
right.
good luck.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm feeling quite nervous about the plants I'm using for September. The garden normally has around about 4,000 plants in it, and because of the change from May to September, we've had to scrap 3,500 of those plants. In terms of flowering, bang on last week of September, it's a step into the unknown, yeah.
Jonathan, fantastic to see you back at Chelsea. Glorious garden as ever. Do you feel you've achieved your goal of sort of establishing that essence of the Himalayan foothills?
Well, we'll know on Tuesday morning for sure. But yeah, I think, it's gone really well. I've enjoyed it. Throughout the last 3 weeks, I've tried to select the best bits of the Himalayas that I've seen, distill them down to their best qualities, and then very slightly amplify wherever needed, just to sort of enhance the effect of it. And I feel that we've more or less achieved that. So we'll find out if that's the case in a few days' time.
Fantastic. Now, understand that despite the fact you've got this huge range of plants, you had to effectively get rid of a whole load of your plants and start over because of the change of seasons.
That's right, yeah. I mean, we had, we probably scrapped about 80% of the plant list.
Wow.
Wow. Primulas, Mechanopsis, Cardiocrinum, Regersias, all gone, and we very nearly didn't go ahead this September because I wasn't sure if I could find enough flowering plants for September, but we did.
Wow, wow. I mean, what's interesting looking across the garden, these are all species, of course, that come from the Himalaya.
That's right, yes.
But they're also plants that a lot of people will see growing in their home gardens.
That's right. Well, that's 3 gardens I've done at Chelsea have always been about showing plants that people know quite well growing in their natural habitat. And the Himalayas is no exception. So people hopefully will recognise Persicarias and Hypericum and rhododendrons, but put all together, just showing where they like to grow in the wild.
I mean, I can see you've got a few plants here that, of course, have been growing on the Himalaya for tens of thousands of years,
yes,
but are incredibly trendy right now. So I'm seeing Scheffleras tucked away,
yes,
and Aurelias tucked away in the garden.
Right. Yes, there's an Aurelia just there, and a few more dotted through there, like little sort of umbrellas. Scheffler is at the front, it's a real sort of plantsman's paradise, the Himalayas. There's so much there, and I've only really scratched the surface of what's available.
I guess for all the exoticism, the look of a lot of these plants, even this ginger in front of me looks wildly tropical.
Yeah.
Yet they can grow quite happily in our climes.
Yes, yes. When I was out there, we were out there actually 2 years ago researching, back in the days when you could go out and research. This is exactly the combination. You know, the plants that we know quite well, like Persicarias, growing alongside all the tropical, because the altitude goes from 2,000 to 4,000 metres. That's the area that this garden's set in. And at 2,000 metres, it's warm and it's wet. 4,000 metres, it's more like it is today, a bit cooler. But they do grow naturally together. And that's the combination I wanted to achieve for this garden.
Fantastic. Well, it looks truly superb. I think you've done a fantastic job, as ever. And good luck with the medals.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, Jonathan certainly knows what he's doing. He's an old hand here at Chelsea. I'm on another show garden across the way on Main Avenue. This is the RHS Garden of Hope. But you'll have to wait until tomorrow night for the grand unveiling on the One Show. I'm here, though, with its designer, one of our very own flower show team, Arit Anderson. Lovely to see you here again after all this time.
Oh, no, and great to see you, I have to say, Sophie. Really great to see the team.
What has it been like? This is your very first Chelsea show garden. How's it been?
It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but a good one, a really good one. I feel blessed that I've had an amazing team, contractors, suppliers, you know, the planting team. So I've been very supported. But, you know, it's a huge amount of pressure. This is an engagement garden. So as much as we don't get medalled, every day there's thousands of visitors going through. So the scrutiny of them is really important. And that's always been in my mind, and knowing that it's going on somewhere else as well.
And it's amazing the amount of time. You had 3 weeks to do this, and 3 weeks ago this was turf.
Yeah.
And now you produce this garden which looks like it's been here forever. it must have been pretty stressful at times. I've seen you a bit over the last few weeks, and it's not been easy, has it?
No, I mean, it's really weird. You come and see the turf, and then you go, is my design going to fit in this? That's weird. And then in the middle, we were doing really well. Weather's been amazing. And then we had a bit of an issue with the structures. They're really big, and they were coming down in kind of big sections. And we had a bit of an issue with the transportation. So that put us back by a good half day, and of course every minute counts. So yeah,
it really does.
Yeah.
How many sleepless nights have you had?
Yeah, I was getting into a body clock of like within 4 hours I was awake. Where's this? Have I done that? So
well, look, I mean, it looks fantastic. I know people can't quite see it all right now, but it is a beautiful garden, and you are finally looking happy, relaxed, smiling. It's done.
It's done. It's done now. Just got to get him to my frock, you know me.
You do.
I need a frock.
You need a frock. I can't wait to see that as well. Ara, it's so nice to see you back here and to be back here again.
Thank
good
you.
luck. Have a lovely week.
Thank you, Sophie.
Well, Arit's finished garden will be revealed tomorrow night on The One Show on BBC One at 7 o'clock. Now, if you were wondering whether a September Chelsea might be lacking on the flower front, hopefully we've already convinced you otherwise. And the nurseries have certainly pulled out all the stops to deliver a kaleidoscope of colour in the Great Pavilion. For one Chelsea regular, Rob Evans, that has meant mixing things up to ensure his September display shines bright.
I've had the nursery since 2003, but this is a new patch of land that we're on now that we've started this year. For our shows in May, we're normally growing in the greenhouse. Growing outside is completely different. We're open to nature. This year, we can have lots of different varieties, ones that we've never shown at Chelsea before. My name's Rob Evans, and I'll be exhibiting at Chelsea Flower Show for the 13th time. For Chelsea this year, I'm feeling so excited because we're showing dahlias and gladiolis. Hopefully we can wow the judges by having vast colour with the gladiolis, but also the sheer amount of dahlia blooms that we'll have. To get dahlias early on in the season for Chelsea in May, we need 3 or 4 times the amount of space in our polytunnels. This time of year, we've got natural growing conditions, so that's why we're doing dahlias. Now, for the dahlias at Chelsea Show, we disbud. And we disbud to get one nice long straight stem. You can see on this one, the 2 side buds that are on the top of the stem, we're going to take those out between our fingers and we just squeeze and pinch them out. That now will give us a nice long stem that we can cut and have a nice single bloom at the top like this one is. Our dahlia collection has been growing over the years, and at the moment I think we're up to about 450 to 500 varieties. We'll have a lot of choice because September is a natural season for dahlias. Every time I look at it, I think I'm going to keep cutting it down. But then somebody else brings a new one out and you think, right, I better get that and try it. This one is called Max Megan. And as you can see, the blooms absolutely beautiful on this variety. A medium semi-cactus and a beautiful coral pink with a lovely cream throat. But as you can see, the size of the plant and the amount of blooms on there, this is exactly what I want for Chelsea Show. Gladioli are my favourite flower because they're very stately, they stand out, and they're very, very bright and vibrant flowers. With Chelsea Show now in September, we're going to have a wider range of gladiolis coming into flower, so it means we'll have plenty of choice. These are the gladiolis that we'll have at Chelsea Show this year. Normally we like to cut about 100, and when we've got plenty, we'll put them all in buckets. And we cut them right at floor level so that they are the full length of the spike. And these are the spikes now that we'll put into the cold store. When we get about 40 to 50 spikes, They're all ready then at the same stage. Hopefully on the stand we'll have between 30 and 40 different varieties of gladiolis ready for Chelsea show. Before the shows I'm always trying to arrange things just to see what colours and what forms look good together. Now at the moment when I look at these colours I can think of the seasons going around where we can have the bright, vibrant colours of spring, and with Chelsea show in the autumn this year, I'm really looking forward myself to showing the subtle change of colours that come around in the season. I've been doing this for over 30 odd years and I'm still happy getting up, especially when the sun is shining, the delight of still growing flowers that people enjoy, and it makes me feel happy that people enjoy seeing the flowers.
Rob is looking absolutely stunning at the moment. It sounds like September Chelsea would be good for you every year.
It would be, yes. You know, gladiolis growing out in the field. The dahlias are easily grown in containers, but I say easily grown. They've been in the greenhouse, they've been out to the greenhouse. Last week we had 32 degrees heat, and then 2 days later, hailstorm. So it's one or the other.
Yeah. Do you have to change them over during the week?
Sometimes we change the gladiolis over. If it's a very warm week in the May show, we always change quite a few over. I'm hoping that this week they'll all stand with the cooler nights.
Yeah.
And we won't need to change any.
Make your life a little bit easier, won't it? Now, we know that, you know, dahlias, hugely popular. They've been in and out of fashion over the decades, but the last few years, very popular. Gladioli, on the other hand, a bit Dame Edna Everidge, perhaps? Are they big at the moment?
They're getting bigger. Over the years, we've shown them at Chelsea for numerous years, and people have come in and seen them, and we are selling more and more corms every year. Due to the colour range has changed, everybody was looking at reds, pinks and yellows. Now we've got all the shades under the sun.
I was going to say, there's a kaleidoscope, isn't there, of colours. Chemistry there is just singing out. It's an amazing colour.
It's a very electric blue, as you can see, and, you know, it stands out. It's quite a tall gladiola. It's around 4.5 to 5 foot. But it really stands out in all gardens.
Yeah, but you've also got much shorter ones as well, these dwarf varieties.
The Bambinos are great for containers or dwarf pots, and also you can grow them in the garden as in low beds. And they're easy to grow. They grow to about 2.5 to 3 foot in height, and they'll flower for about 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I know you've got a little bit of work to do on your exhibit. You're being judged tomorrow. Yeah?
Yes, tomorrow. We've still got lots of petals dropping, as you can see, coming off some of the dahlias. So it's a good couple of hours of picking over all the petals.
And it's your 13th Chelsea, right? So
yes.
Good luck. 13th time, lucky. See you tomorrow, Rob.
Excellent. Thank you.
There's always plenty that's familiar in the pavilion, and another thing you can be sure of at Chelsea are the quintessentially picture postcard artisan gardens. This year is no different, as Juliet Sargent discovered.
The artisan gardens are all about creating atmosphere, and this one's no exception. It's a nostalgic picture postcard with a thought-provoking theme. It's been designed by Adam Wilcott and Jonathan Smith to commemorate the 90th anniversary of the Guide Dogs for the Blind charity, founded in 1931. The first 4 guide dogs were German shepherds called Flash, Folly, Meta and Judy, and they were given to World War I veterans. The garden charts the journey for people with sight loss from a time of uncertainty, which is illustrated here by the rusty barbed wire sculpture. The figures crouching down in a place of darkness and isolation. And there's a rough road, a difficult journey through to independence and freedom represented by this sculpture here. It's a journey that I often witnessed when I worked as a hospital doctor. And I saw how important gardens and open space are to people who've had life-changing events. This garden's been designed to stimulate all the senses, and these bold blocks of colour are fantastic if you have sight impairment, especially that zingy yellow of the Rudbeckia. But if you're blind, it's wonderful to be able to run your hands through the softness of the grasses and feel the scratchiness of these teasels. And as I walk along the path, I can hear and feel a crunching underfoot. And I love this pear tree. If you're blind, to be able to run your fingers through the leaves and find a fruit and then just pick it and bite into the juicy flesh. How wonderful. And then down here are some herbs. Thyme, I love that scent. And then mint as well. It's gorgeous, so refreshing. So with all these sensations in the garden, it's like a wonderful, comforting blanket. But there will always be bridges to cross for somebody with sight impairment. But with the help and companionship of a guide dog, life can be so much easier.
One of the competitions here in the pavilion is floristry. It is a hive of activity right now as the competitors put their final touches to their exhibits. I'm here with one florist, Trudy Easton, who's looking very relaxed because you basically finished, haven't you?
Well, we've still got some final touches to do, but we're nearly there.
A medicinal garden you've created.
A medicinal garden. It's all about the history of healing plants, and we start off with a sort of Culpeper inspiration as a meandering thread of medicinal plants creeps up a DNA tree to a canopy of future potential, which is cures that may be used currently or could be researched for future use in medicine.
There's a lot of medicinal gardening going on this year, not surprisingly, at Chelsea. Yours is one of the installations. There are about 7 or 8 of them. A hive of activity behind you. But you're competing with these people. What's it been like?
Yes, it's a hive of activity, as you say. There's lots going on. There's lots of different styles, which is really interesting. Although we're not really competing with each other, we're just competing against ourselves. You're always wanting to do the very best that you can for Chelsea, and in actual fact the atmosphere between all the florists has been fantastic, so it's been really, you know, a great opportunity.
You've been here since Tuesday, haven't you? What's it been like?
Yes, we've been working our socks off since Tuesday, and thank goodness we're nearly done, but it's been great. I've found it fascinating to watch all the gardens going in and seeing how other people construct stands. As really a newbie to floristry, it's been a huge learning curve for me.
Well,
so
have the most wonderful week. I'm sure you will love it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, good luck to Trudy and to all the other competitors in the floristry and floral design competition. Now, one of the reasons we all love Chelsea is it sets the fashion agenda for plants, flowers and gardening. The designers inspire us with ideas on what we can do in our own gardens. We sent Rachel de Tame on a tour of the showground to give us her first impressions of this year's planting styles.
One of the absolute best things about having a show at this time of year is having the opportunity to see lots of different types of planting styles, things that you wouldn't see in a late May show. And here we've got something that I think we're seeing a lot of, and it's really beautiful. It's that sort of very loose, naturalistic style of planting that works brilliantly at this time of year. You've got wonderful mixture of planting here, lots of late flowering perennials. Daisy shapes are really prominent, so there are asters and rudbeckias, and then plenty of echinacea going through. I love this one, this is Magnus, with those wonderful, soft, dusky pink petals. And that colour's borne out as well in some of the grasses. Here we've got panicum squaw, and they add movement from the slightest breeze. They just sort of effervesce, they sparkle above the rest of the plants. If you're looking for that kind of prairie-style planting, that lovely loose quality, this is exactly how to do it. Now, this planting scheme is a masterclass in the hot colours that you get in the end of summer and on into autumn.
And it's really done almost as a river of these colours all the way through, with the sanguisorba there, that dark plummy red, really beautiful, and taking us into the digitalis, and that still has that little bit of pink, and behind it a beautiful rudbeckia, and then that yellow follows through with the helenium and into the crocosmia. This is George Davison, not as well known probably as that one. That's Emily Mackenzie, larger orange flowers. Underneath, the crowning glory of this crabapple called Winter Gold. Absolutely beautiful planting, full of heat and pizzazz. Another planting style featuring really strongly at the show is woodland planting, using shade-loving plants. And who would have thought you can get pretty much an entire forest into a container like this? It's topped off with this wonderful Betula pendula, and then beneath the branches you've got all sorts of perennials, ferns and grasses. The carex here with this lovely orangey tint on it. This is a Dryopteris, it's the autumn fern, and it's lovely because the fronds, when they unfurl, have this orange tint to them, and then as they mature they become more green. I think the star of the show here really is the Viburnum opulus, with those glassy berries just shining, those wonderful oranges and reds, absolutely beautiful. And I think it shows that whether you've got sun or shade, really important when you're planning your planting schemes to think beyond summer and make it work in every season.
Thanks, Rachel. And one of the great things about having Chelsea at this time of year is you can see a combination of plants. Perfect time of year for planting coming up, so you can pop them straight in.
Can't wait to see what people make of it all when they come in the next few days. It's very, very different this year.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Well, we've come to the end of our first look at the long-awaited Chelsea Flower Show 2021, and what a great week we've got ahead of us.
It really is going to be a Chelsea to remember. And of course, as ever, we would love to hear from you all watching at home. So do follow us on Twitter at GWN Shows using the hashtag BBC Chelsea, and find us on Facebook at BBC Gardeners World.
Well, our coverage continues tomorrow at 3:45 on BBC One with Nikki Chapman and Angelica Bell. And then I'll be here with Monty on BBC Two at 7 p.m.
And I'll be joining Joe again here on BBC One at 7:30 p.m, when we'll be bringing you all the action from the day as members of the royal family, celebrities and the world's press get their first look at Chelsea 2021. Until tomorrow, goodbye.
Bye-bye.